thing that people have to understand is that the Maat is about doing what's right in the moment. Hatchapu fam, peace and blessings. This is Derric Rakumore, and in this video, again, I want to talk about the Maat. Okay, I want to talk about the Maat and the Maat, and the reason for doing this is mainly because I'm still getting some questions. I'm still getting people asking, is this Maat? That Maat is this, okay? And especially after the Juneteenth, spectacle, in which it was made a holiday, and I posted, "This is not Maat." There was a lot more inquiry. Oh, okay. Well, what do you mean? What do you? You should celebrate this, okay? And what I want people to understand is that, whenever you hear people talk about Maat, whenever you hear people talk about the Maat and Maat, they always mention Maat is about balance. Maat is about truth. Maat is about righteousness. Maat is about reciprocity, okay? They always mention this, okay? But what I found is that for a lot of people, they're just definitions, okay? Those are just definitions. They don't understand the attributes of what Maat actually deals with, okay? Because if they really understood what the attributes of what the Maat or Maat actually deals with, then they would understand the balance, the reciprocity, the truth, the righteousness. All that happens on its own based upon the way you're living, okay? I still hear people talking about, and I still get people saying, well, I'm following the 42 laws of Maat. I'm following the 42 declarations or negative confessions of Maat. And as I mentioned before, these declarations were for the scribe Annie. Now, the reason why that is so confusing to people is because they don't understand the Kemetic people, like most traditional African people, they would do readings. They would try to find out, or they would do readings to basically divine to see what the individual's destiny was. So when the scribe Annie, he's talking about his 42 declarations, basically what he's doing, those declarations were based upon his destiny. So in other words, he knew, based upon his destiny, these are the problems that I'm going to have in my life. So because I'm going to have these problems, I'm going to work on those to try to balance it out by using this declaration. Okay? We don't even know all the other ritual aspects that he used in order to balance it out. All we do, or all we have, is a record that these were the affirmations, or these were the declarations that he used. Okay? But that's it. The 42 declarations of Maat were not posted all over Kemet. There was not people going all over Kemet, quoting, oh, the 42 declarations, I have not done this and I have not done. They were not posted all over Kemet as if they were 10 commandments. Okay? And again, the reason why we keep interpreting it, or we keep thinking of it as that way, is because we have allowed these foreigners to interpret our ancestral way of life and our ancestral way of being. The Kemetic people understood that if you make if you make a list, if you make a list of things or a list of commandments, they knew that what was going to happen was that people will go around, eventually over time, the actual true understanding and meaning of those were going to be misinterpreted, and then it becomes a dogma, and then from that dogma you're going to have some fundamentalists rise up and say, well, you didn't do this because it was against Maat. You didn't do this because this is against Maat, or or whatever. And they're basically interpreting the truth based upon their opinion, based upon whatever they believe, based upon their ego. That's the reason why there was no books. Understand what I'm saying here. There were no books written about Maat. Maat only had one temple, if I remember correctly. There was only one temple dedicated to Maat. So how could this principle, the concept of Maat and Maat, how could this be the most important concept, that the basis of the Kemetic society, but yet they only have one temple and hardly, and like I said, no books written about the spirit Maat? How is that? Okay? It's because the Kemetic people understood that is not where righteousness comes from. Righteousness comes from living and doing what is right in the moment. It's not doing it for some kind of notoriety. Like you see these people who call themselves being philanthropists, oh, I'm gonna go build a school out here in the middle of, in the middle of the African Sahara to help these people. Meanwhile, let me cheese and take some shots, take some pictures and stuff, or I'm gonna give this donation to these people because, they need it. But yet, there's all this publication about it in the news. That's not philanthropy. That's not Maat. Maat is not about doing something for notoriety. You do it because you're supposed to do it. You do it because it's the right thing to do. It's called integrity. Okay? I mean, it's as simple as saying, hey, guess what? It's like these people, they trip me out. It's like saying, I went ahead and I ate breakfast. It's like, aren't you supposed to? Oh, I went ahead and, before I went ahead and before I started my day, I took a shower. Aren't you supposed to do that? I mean, I went ahead and I brushed my teeth or something. I mean, this is common sense stuff. But, and this is why there was no books written on it. This is why there was no books written on, these common things. So understand this, okay? Maat is about doing what's right, not because you're going to get some fame, some notoriety for it, not because somebody's going to pat you on the back. You're doing it because we're all one. That's the reason why you're doing it. This is the problem with the whole Juneteenth thing. The Juneteenth did not, and I understood because I went to school in Texas. That was the first time I ever heard of it. I ever heard of the holiday. And I understand, the reason why people want to celebrate it. But you have to understand the spiritual significance behind this. The reason why they authorized this and made this into an actual holiday is so that they can get notoriety from it. They're trying to buy your support. Because once you go ahead and you say, hey, and I heard somebody say this. Once you go ahead and say, hey, they gave us a holiday, now we have our own independence. That was the trap. The trap was thinking they gave you independence, thinking they gave you freedom. You are a freaking god and goddess. How can someone who give you as a god or a goddess, how can they give you your freedom? Okay? Now I know there are some people there's a lot of people that fell for it. Okay? There's a lot of people that fell for that trick. But you have to understand that is not Maat. Okay? If they wanted to do what was right, they would have done what was right in the beginning and said, here's your, let's repair these communities. Let's do the reparations thing. Let's do everything we can do because we see ourselves, we see all of us, regardless of our color, regardless of our sex, regardless of our nationality, regardless of our ethnicity, we see us all as one unified country, one unified people, one unified Americans. Okay? That would have been the Maat thing to do. But you didn't hear them do that. okay? Because they still see us, or they still see people based upon their physical characteristics, based upon all their physical characteristics. So I understand, people. I understand, fam. Okay, like I said, my art is about doing what's right in the moment. Okay, not waiting around, waiting to see if you're gonna get notoriety for it. It's not, even though it comes off as a quid pro quo, it is not quid pro quo. Okay, so hopefully that helps. Hopefully that gives you a little bit better understanding of it. If you got any questions or so, like I said, drop me a line. Again, thanks for your support. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for liking and subscribing. Head to Pooh. Peace.
Here she goes again. I can feel her eyes closing in. It's like a rigged game, but how the fuck am I supposed to win? The OG say cheer up, but wifey won't.